Hello and welcome to the Breaking Free podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Francis. Today, very grateful, very humble to be joined by Jason Christoff for the third time. I can't believe it's been this is our third chat, and I can't believe, as we were just saying off air, that it's been 3 years since I worked with you. And I remember you saying in my first session that your trajectory is going like that. At the time, I couldn't see it, but here we are right here, right now. Jason, welcome to the show. Happy to have you.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for having me back for a third time, Nathan. And of course, yeah, you've done 120 podcasts since you worked with me. The work that Nathan did with me, of course, was overcoming self-sabotage coaching certifications. So I did a one-on-one with him. I don't do one-on-ones anymore. So I'm happy it benefited you.
It did, yeah. And a lot of the affirmations and a lot of that programming that I had, as it always is for the general population out there, it's deeply embedded. I was just grateful to have someone see the potential in me that I could do something really awesome. I always knew I could. It was just great to have that second set of lens, second set of eyes. And I'll never forget some of the quotes you said in there about the potential that I have and the lightning rod shining through me and all that stuff. It just gave me that extra self confidence, which then started the podcast, written the book, started the business, and here we are today. It's like you saw something in me that I wasn't quite able to see in myself, and I'm very grateful for that one-on-one time we had.
Yeah, and that's something you just need someone a little older, and someone that has a bit of experience. And when I do coach, and whether I coach the whole class or I coach individuals, I bring my business experience into it. And so as someone who's been in business, I've learned to see, like in my staff, what their superpowers are, so I can pick them out easy. And I never fluff up anybody. I mean, you had those superpowers, tons of potential. You're letting it shine now. And again, you're so young. I'd love to see what happens. When you get to my age, you're going to be a huge footprint on this planet. So well done.
Thank you very much. And that's, yeah, I'm only 30, so it's like that's still 20 odd years away, right? Like there's so much time.
20, 25. So
25.
yeah, yeah, I'm 55 now. So yeah, 25 years from now, I mean, and you can see I'm just starting to hit my stride right now. I mean, with the years under your belt, and you've already learned a lot. It's not that you're just taking action. You've learned what it takes to take action. You've learned what it takes to look at your fear and still go ahead. Because a lot
Mm.
of people might believe if you get coached by someone like me that you'll get more brave. You actually just, I mean, you do get more. The fear is still there, but your bravery increases. You do get more brave. And if you don't have a good mentor, sometimes the fear can make you sit on your hands, and your whole decades will go by, but you'll feel that. I mean,
Mm.
if you have potential and you're not acting on it, you will feel it. You'll question what life is about. In your body will give you signals like depression, a bit of doom and gloom, despair. And that's your body trying to talk to you too, to try and get you moving and get you to take action. And you're coaching a lot of people too, which is the reason I started my school, because we do need all hands on deck. And if it isn't obvious why we need all hands on deck, just look out your window.
That's the thing too. And when you did that session with me, man, it was all about like I really wanted to focus on the younger generation and our younger our younger men and our younger females, because that's where the growth really is. Like these younger adults, if they're listening to this, listening to us talking now, like they have so much power and so much potential. Like I've seen them shift things so fast. Like I had a client shift something a week later, she wrote a blog for me. Like there's so much like there's superpowers that are like times 100 amongst our younger crop of people out there. Like it's wild how quick they can get on the path.
Well, the people who rule us, which I always refer to them as they, but they're the ultimate programs, like pronouns, I guess, they and them. But because no one likes to name them because it takes too much time. But they are aware that when you take a young person, their highest potential for breaking out of their programming is like 18 to 35.
Mm.
And this is why they've designed the society, because that's why they call them the social engineers or the builders. I mean, a Mason is a builder. And, not to get too tinfoil hattish, the Freemasons basically, we build their structures for them. That's what Freemasonic order means, is that they will build, but we build it for them. That's what the free is in front of it. They don't pay, we pay, we do the building. But basically, they're aware that even if you indoctrinate for many, many years in the public school system, that child, they can break out of it when they start getting basically sexually mature, where they start adding strength to themselves. And this is why these social engineers, these Freemasons, have built a society so the young will enter rituals and customs that the builders have manufactured for them, usually revolving around alcohol
Yep.
and partying and hedonism. And that's there on purpose. This mind control and brainwashing by which the average person is, too obsessed with sex, too obsessed with alcohol, too obsessed with anything like painkillers, sedative substances. Basically, you can program the youth to make them look at living as sort of like a pleasure pursuit.
Mm.
And that takes away their power. And that's why it's like that. Because so all this schooling, all these schooling traditions and movies like Animal House, like in my days, or Van Wilder in between. I don't know what the younger generation has. It's all there to give the negative role modeling, to cut the feet right out from under the youth without them even knowing that that's why these social structures have been engineered into our society. Like nothing takes people's internal power offline than alcohol as a substance. Absolutely nothing. And this is why all the university and college and they think it's a rite of passage to go drink, to get drunk, go to a bar and dance. These things are there on purpose to disempower the youth.
100%. 100%. And it's making them aware of that too, because I believe deep down they are aware of that. It just takes someone like me, like you, to be like, hey, this is not like, this isn't organic to you. This was programmed into you from a very, very early age as well, right?
Yeah, it's really good to let them know. And sometimes you're dealing with 18 to 35-year-olds is the category we're talking about, and they have a lot of strength and they have a lot of pride in themselves. Sometimes they're, too prideful, but sometimes that can work to a coach's advantage. If you tell a young person, say, look, there's a group of old evil men over on this area that you can't see, that are organizing all your alcohol rituals, all your vaping, all your narcotics, all your TV shows, your Netflix, and even your music. And if the youth want to go out and see how sort of manufactured their music is, there's another mind control expert called Mark Devlin, Devlin. You might want to interview him
Mhm.
out of the UK. But sometimes a fiery and brash youth, they might react to that kind of true story, that there's these old people that they're ancient and they pass down their traditions and their goals from father to son in these secret societies, and they're actually trying to engineer your disease, your cancer, your failure, your bankruptcy, your misery, your depression, and how you feel lost. They're doing it. And there's nothing wrong with the human who reacts to this programming. They put out certain cues in the movies, in the TV shows, in the music, in the advertising, inside the government curriculum, the school program. And if you react negatively to it, which means you're drinking, you're watching TV, you're scrolling your life away on your phone. That's the design of the program. And if you're doing this, if you're reacting, if you're fiddling your life away, hoping that you're going to go to school and get a job, and they have the school system set up so you're going to learn nothing of value. There's no survival skills taught you.
Mhm.
Even the basic survival skill of surviving in the concrete jungle, of owning a business and writing your own checks and making your own money, they don't even teach you that, let alone gardening or proper health protocol. They teach you nothing like that. So sometimes it's important, if you're dealing with youth, to say, it's time you got pissed off, but, and yeah, get a little upset, maybe even get a little violent, but get a little violent against the alcohol, against the vape stick, against the TV, against Netflix, and know they're there to trip you up. So if you want to rage against the machine, and such a bad comparison, because we all know they did what they were told in 2020. I hope people understand what that means. They lined up for the medicine, the experimental medicine, and they told other people to do the same. But if you want to, fight the man, going and getting drunk and smoking and destroying your health and destroying your potential and destroying your brain, that doesn't make you a rebel. They're going to frame it as on the rebel rack, and it looks very seductive when you're young, you sort of want a personality. Everybody
Yeah.
wants a personality. Instead of developing your own personality takes effort, okay? So they're going to put all your downloadable personalities that take no effort at all, and they're almost like apps. So the rebel app, the drinker app, the vapor, the smoker, the full of tattoos and piercings, they put that as the lowest hanging fruit so that you grab at it. They take away your self-esteem and self-confidence and your dreams. So you really grab at those really negative, identities harder when they precondition you over, say, 15 years in the public school system. You're not going to have a lot of self-esteem, not a lot of self-confidence, but you were born with it. You weren't born that broken, that empty. You're not born with that big hole in your chest that you got to fill with a pre-manufactured identity as a rebel. If you want to be a real rebel, a real black sheep, start a business, eat organic, drink only clean water that's healthy for you. Go to bed on time, exercise on a regular basis. That's the rebel, because the word rebel just sort of means, well, it means to change your frequency, but it's supposed to be the rare person, right? But today, what they call rebels, everybody's doing it. So it's not a rare occurrence. If you want to be a real rebel or a black sheep, it means everybody else is over here as a big group of people that go along to get along. A real black sheep is over him by himself, like the lone wolf. And a lot of people today will say, even in my coaching, they'll say, I'm a lone wolf, I'm a black sheep. And part of my coaching, of course, is to do the reality slaps. And I'm sure I did some with you, Nathan, that, maybe they worked, maybe they didn't. But if someone says I'm a black sheep, I'll literally have to stop, because it is common.
Yeah.
And my answer is common. I'll say, you're not, right? You have this idealistic, romantic view of yourself that you're a black sheep or a lone wolf, but you drink and you vape and you have coffee every morning and you watch Netflix. I said, this romantic view of you of being like a loner and not being in the group, like, you are the group. You are that 90% if you're doing all this stuff that goes nowhere. And if it would go somewhere, if it would have positive effects, the drinking, the smoking, the vaping, the, scrolling the phone, I wouldn't say anything. But as an experienced human being, I know what it takes to pay rent. I know what it takes to have extra money to take care of yourself, your loved ones. So I know what it takes to make enough money to not only care for you in a loving way, but to care for 10 other people too.
Yeah.
And the habits that the average person is being taught today, how they're being disempowered, and all these fake identities, that these fake personalities that are being purposely pulled down as the lowest hanging fruit, all by these social engineers. That person who takes that on, who doesn't know the scam, who doesn't know the design of the system, they're not going to be able to earn enough money to even support themselves as a single individual. And that's why it's so important to get a hold of the youth and say, yeah, there's some old men over there. Let me tell you about their group that goes back thousands of years. Let me tell you about their plans. Let me tell you about how they accomplish their plans. And let me tell you some other mysteries of this world that are hidden from you so that you can get your power back. And that's why we do our coaching, because that's the most important thing. If I can get your power back and you can protect it because you know the dark magician's tricks, then you can hold your power internally for the rest of your life. I can just, put my foot gently in your back and kick you out of the coaching session, knowing that you'll be okay. And that's the most important aspect of what you and I do as self-sabotage coaches, is let them know the characteristics of the tricks. Because all the tricks are disguised as different, like they all have different costumes on. There's a political costume being paraded out right now in the United States, but the same characteristics of, popularizing a political figure, it's the same tricks as what happened in 2020 with COVID, and it's the same tricks that they rolled out in the 1930s to get everybody drinking and then get female smoking, get people vaping, making them use marijuana. They've used all the same tricks to make the average person wait in line to destroy their power. So I can't teach you, you can't really keep up to date with all their shenanigans, but if you know the structure, the system, the characteristics of the con job, then you can go out with power, live with power, walk with power, and I'm going to be confident that you will one day figure out all these cons and sidestep enough of them so that you have a much better life than someone who doesn't understand these concepts.
Yeah, that's a very well said spiel. There's lots to unpack there. I just want to circle back to the fake idols, fake people on the screen, the characters and stuff too. Because when I was younger, just to circle this back here, I wanted to be Stifler and Charlie Sheen and, American Pie, Two and a Half Men. I want to be Joey and Friends. Like, that's the sort
Yeah.
of character on the screen that I saw that I thought was a king. He was cool. He had women, beach houses, cigars,
Mhm.
and Stifler the way he spoke about women. It's like, well, I downloaded that program, as you know, as a safe thing to do. I was acting out as that guy, thinking I was going to get all of those things. Reality smacked me in the face. It's like he didn't have any of those things. I literally got slapped in the face a few times by women because women didn't like being treated like that. So there's literally a personal example that I've shared a few times is that those three guys I remember so vividly because I wanted to be those guys. I wanted the luxury lifestyle that was sold to me. It was just all bullshit, right?
Yeah, and one, all the tricks that we teach, and we can't go over all of them today, but they're based on documented psychology.
Hmm.
And I will let people know that I know all the tricks. Nathan knows all the tricks. It takes time to learn them all. But when you go back and actually go to the psychological research, they're doing psychological research on monkeys, cats. They've even done psychological research on fleas. They've done it in bears and wolves. And I can tell you 100% that they don't care about the psychology of fleas and bears and wolves. The reason they do all this research and then cram it back into this libraries of the secret society is they're trying to figure out how to best psychologically manipulate the human, because we all have the same sort of characteristics of behavior.
Yeah.
And as regarding you watching someone like Charlie Sheen, or I think his name's Sean William Scott, or whatever his name is, Stifler.
Yeah, yeah,
That was, yeah, that was his name on American Pie. What they've shown in the psychological research. Now, there was a really weird study, and bear with me because I'll make sense of this, okay? But there was monkeys, male monkeys, that basically were eating from, say, a little tray in front of a TV. So they would, every time they would go to eat, the screen would flop over to another picture. So when they were interested in what was on the screen, they would stop eating to have a better gander at it, something that caught their attention. And in psychological studies, that is actually uh, tagged as the monkey making a payment because he's foregoing food.
yeah,
So, what's going to make a primate like that make a payment? What actually had the monkey stop the TV to focus on this one screen? What was on the screens that the monkey was making a payment to stop in a stationary position so they could take a good gawk at it? Well, number one, it was the hindquarters of the female monkey. And number two, it was high status male monkeys,
yeah,
or if it was a female, high status female monkeys. So they understood, regardless of why, and a lot of times in psychology, they don't even care about really understanding why. They came to the conclusion through, other side research projects that really confirm the same thing. Humans as well like to stare at higher status monkeys. It really gets their attention. And oddly enough, that's what you were doing.
mm. Yeah,
You were looking at them, and not only are we fixated on the high status monkeys like Elon Musk. I
yeah,
mean, this is why we're being led by what's called cults of personality. Now, if anybody wants to Google that, you'll see it's sort of basically a person or a group that are high status monkeys.
yeah,
And we're starting to be ruled by movie stars, and sort of almost we're seeing the blurring of the line because Donald Trump was on the TV in The Apprentice. He's been in the World Wrestling Federation. He's actually been in other movies as well, playing himself in many situations. But then we got Elon Musk, Elon Musk had the most views on Joe Rogan in Rogan podcast history. So we're getting manipulated on a psychological level. And not only do we like to watch high status monkeys, sort of we'll make a payment to see them, but we'll also do what they tell us more than a low status monkey. And this is why all the political systems are starting to follow a lot of this psychological research. And it's not only that one aspect. I would say that would be 1/1000th of the research that they're weaponizing against us on a yearly basis. There's like 999 other research conclusions that they're weaponizing against the general public. And it's this psychological manipulation that a self-sabotage coach is an expert in. And because we know the power of the psychological manipulators to change the public's behavior, when we work with like clients, we can tell exactly what spell they're under.
yeah,
And that's why it's important, because a lot of times I don't know who you worked with, but the experience when I do self-sabotage coaching is that people have never heard of anything we're talking about
yeah,
at all,
yeah,
at all. But we prove it to them through video demonstration that human behavior can be changed in a matter of minutes.
mm.
And the person getting hacked can also be sane at the same time inside the 2 or 3 minutes they're being hacked, they can actually say, you can't hack me.
Yep.
And then the master psychological manipulator, and it's not just the secret societies or the social engineers, we use video demonstrations of, say, stage, stage mind control. And the person that even emphatically declares to the mind control expert, you can't hack me, you can't change my behavior. How many videos do we have where that person is hacked in the matter of 2 minutes?
Hundreds.
Hundreds. Exactly. And that's why this is such an important field, because if a mind control expert can go on a stage, an entertainment-based demonstration, and literally take over the mind of another person, yeah, it's kind of funny, but take over the mind of someone else in only a couple minutes. Imagine listening to music that's
Yeah.
designed to do the same over your whole life. Same thing with movies, same thing with TV shows, same thing with government education. It's the same tricks. If you know the tricks, I can see it in my daughter's schooling. I can see it in the movies. I can see it in the TV shows. I can hear it in the music. And if you don't know how it works or what they're trying to do, like what are their goals, well, then you're going to just fall prey to their machinations. And someone who's fallen prey to their machinations will be someone who's overweight or someone who works a job they don't like. They don't like it. They can't break out of it. They just keep going. It's the same cycle. They drink even though they don't have the money. They smoke. They vape. They don't like how much income they have, but they never do anything about it. They don't like rich people, but they also don't like their job. So, I mean, imagine the confusion there. Like, I hate entrepreneurs because they're capitalists and I think they're greedy, but I really hate this shitty job I'm at too. So, where do you go mentally? Well, the people who program both of those into you knows you're not going anywhere. You're stuck. So all these machinations and modalities of psychological manipulation are made and designed and manufactured to make the average person stuck in a life they don't enjoy. They're not only stuck in a life they don't enjoy, they're destroying themselves every day with either coffee or alcohol or all the things I've already mentioned, junk food or processed food. And yet they absolutely know that they don't enjoy the life they're living, but they can't change.
Mm.
And that's the trap inside the psychological manipulation of the ruling group, the secret societies. That's the biggest trap. That grabs the hardest, is that you actually know you don't like what you're doing, but your foot's in the bear trap. You just can't get out. And that's what we teach about how to unhinge that bear trap and walk out without injury and keep on climbing the mountain. And the tricks will be there. I tell people, look, if you know how the magician does his tricks, the magic show will fail to have any other impact on you. And very important information.
I agree. And it's using that information to walk up that success mountain, as you call it. But it's also using those tricks in our favor. Like they're doing that to destroy ourselves, or we're using those same tricks too, basically, to empower you to to be better so that you can enjoy the quality of life that you've got. I say to people all the time, you might have 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of programming there. But look what Max Major did in America's Got Talent. Like he sorted Howie out in 2 minutes. It's like we can help you do the same thing. And it's also
Absolutely.
having that patience and that resilience and that discipline that I talk about of actually wanting to change. If you actually want it deep inside, then that programming will be easier to sort of maneuver around a bit and shift and change because you're willing to take that step out of the bear trap too.
Yeah. And a lot of times the programming will be so effective because that, I mean, it's not complex. You can make mind control programming very effective in a very short amount of time. And the person will be also programmed not only to destroy themselves, but to want to change, but to be afraid to change.
Yeah.
Because the part of the mind that's being hacked with these mind control modalities, it really likes things to stay the same, even if changing would make your life better. So if you're overweight for 20 years, they will say consciously, I'd love to be thin,
Oh, yeah.
but the part of the brain that's the program part is the subconscious, and it only wants things to stay the same. So any kind of big change, it's terrified to make. And this is why we educate sort of on the blueprint of the subconscious. It's the part of the brain that's making you stuck and you don't really know. But that's the part of the brain that the group hacks all the time. And like you said, we hack it as well. Now, all the research is always about hacking this part of the brain, and whether you hack it for good or whether you hack it to program that person to destroy themselves, there's only one sort of interfacing language. It's actually like a computer code that you can use, and you can use it to destroy people, but you can also use it to make people's lives better, which is what you do and I do. And it's because this part of the brain, if you know the very particular code, because it will only respond to the very particular code. And we have to explain that to our clients. And if you know that language, you can tell it to stop smoking as well. You can
Mm.
tell it to lose weight. You can tell it to do this, do that, do this. And 1 year down the road, you'll be able to quit the job you don't like and start your own business. A lot of people will try to willpower that. This part of the brain also does not, the one, the one you focus in on to hack and to program. I mean, we program it for good, they program it for evil. I mean, basically, um, it takes a while to get it where you want to go. And a lot of people think it's about willpower or
Yeah.
drawing a line in the sand. And oddly enough, this part of the brain doesn't care about your willpower. It doesn't care. You made a line in the sand and you say, this is the last cigarette I'm ever going to have, and you throw it away. It works sometimes, but in most times, the programming wins out. So you got to establish what the program is. It's basically, I call it the 2 R's. You got to recognize the program, and then you got to reprogram. So that it's a very simple concept, a very simple process. And the great thing about the entertaining part about working one-on-one with clients is, we got the 5 categories of self-sabotage that the vast majority of people fall into. And that's the most exciting part of the analysis, is that most clients are very eager, like, which one of the 5 am I? And tell me why. So that's always the height of the excitement of the sessions.
Yeah, 100%. And it's yeah, I couldn't agree more with what you just said. And it's the same thing over and over again too, because for me, it I did have the willpower to change, but I already started making those changes. I just had someone that was like, well, look what you can do if you actually, you know what I mean? Like you shined that light on some of the things I had stuck deep inside mine. And, they're just seeds, right? They're just seeds that grow over time. You're not going to be able to make that instant change tomorrow. It's like that seed, I go back and listen to our sessions quite regularly just so that that seed can then, it's like that seed's regrowing or rebirthing because yeah, like those programs that I had were deeply embedded inside mine, and I can't oh, I can. It's like those 20, 30, 40, 50. It's like that's a lot of programming. It's not just going to change overnight. There's seeds that are going to grow over time. Like I look at clients that I was working with even 12 months ago, like those seeds are actually growing 12 months later. I had a client start her own homeopathy business. It's like I gave her that beautiful seed like 2 years ago, but it took that time to grow the self-worth, the self-confidence, all those things to then, be like, okay, they're ready to go. It's like it takes time. Because people, as we
Absolutely.
know, all want the quick fix, the quick thing to be like bing, bang, boom, I want it now. It's like, I'm not going to have it now, but you will get it.
That is, that's the program that
Correct.
it's another program, right? It's
Mm.
another, we all respond to our environment and we
Yep.
respond to the repetitive cues in the environment. And what you just described is what I call insidious program.
Yeah.
It hovers in the background almost in everything we do, and it's only the subconscious that it could identify it to us, and the conscious mind, the thinking mind, not the automatic mind. We're not going to see it. Like, let's say a lady with breasts and she gets a lot of pressure from the media that her breasts aren't big enough. And then she gets a lot of pressure from the media that, oh, the breast augmentation is going to solve all your problems. So it's this long-term versus short-term thing. And like you said, a lot of people don't want to do the work. They want the instant gratification, but that's a program.
Mm.
And if people would be taught this in school, is you'll find that everything that gives you pain long term feels good today. And everything that'll give you pleasure long term is painful today. And hard work is painful today, which means it's going to give you a lot of pleasure in the future. So this lady who's going to succumb to these programs, because the reason so much breast augmentation repetition is in the media is it disturbs breast milk and poisons the child, and it can also interfere with breast milk as well. And this group doesn't like healthy humans because healthy humans don't respond to the programming as well. So what I'm trying to say is this big push to get women to put toxins under their skin and carry it around with them is to hurt children, because this cult plays the long-term game, the long-term booby trap. Okay, they're going to just take over the society inch by inch, death by a thousand cuts. It's called the Fabianistic approach. But again, if we go back to the breast augmentation, the woman could bear down mentally. It is harder for her to bear down mentally and do the inner work to become peaceful with her own breast size, to embrace her own beauty, to be okay with who she is, to be the best she can be in the way that God designed her. That is harder. And what you're saying is the same thing I see, is that harder road is the door slammed on it all the time in our
Yeah.
society. And so she just says, "Oh, I could do a bypass of all the mental manipulations and maturation and individuation that my ancestors used to have to do to be okay with who they were born to be. I can bypass all that. I'll fly into the surgeon's office. I'll pay my 15,000 and I'll walk out totally okay with the breasts, and I'll get back on with my day." And again, if you notice, this group understands long term versus short term. They know the energy game.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to grab for the short term gratification, and it's been proven in psychology that if the woman went through the much harder rite of passage to deal with her smaller breasts and deal with who she was, she actually starts to mature into an adult. The person that keeps grabbing for the pain avoidant, instant gratification, I want it now, they never mature to adulthood, because you need pain and discomfort and sacrifice to become an adult. They don't tell us this, but it's true. Even with myself, when I used to take steroids, it basically, if I could have worked harder at the gym, if I wanted a particular physique, I had to go to bed earlier if I was natural. I had to really discipline myself with my food and my intake, but I bypassed that. Started taking some steroid pills, doing some steroid injections, And not only did I rob myself of the opportunity to become a more disciplined, more focused, and more confident human being, I never matured into a fully functional adult, because it's that process that will make you someone who can accomplish anything. But if they just give it to you, if they just want it. The average person today just wants the job. They don't want to earn it. They want the car. They don't want to work for 3 years like I did to get my first car, to get my first motorcycle. And by doing that back-breaking work and sacrificing and crying and climbing up the mountain covered in filth, I learned how to climb bigger mountains. And when you get stuff given to you, and all these rituals and customs of our dysfunctional society is about now, 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 me, each day, every day, all you get is people that are miserable, and they're basically adults who act, talk, and think like children, totally disempowered. They call it an infantilized society, and that's what we got. And are humans born like that? Is anybody listening born like this? Absolutely not. They're not born like this. They're made like this. They're manufactured. They're socially engineered. And how do they do that? Well, go to a public school today.
Mhm.
People running a race. No one can be first. No one can be last. Everybody gets the participation ribbon. That's based on clinical psychology that shows that the person who finished last could be the most successful human in 10 years, because they have to deal with the failure. I remember running a race when I was in grade 6, and I think it was grade 3. And I came like I didn't even really know what a race was.
Mhm.
They just put me on the finish line. I've never raced in my life. It was a sports day. We're just practicing. And someone said go, and I didn't even really know what to do. I finished last. I was super embarrassed. I came home crying, and me and my mother, we sat down and put out a plan, started training, started eating better. And then the next year, I wasn't going to come last again. I came first. But if they would have just gave everybody a ribbon and said, oh, Jason, don't worry about it, they would have robbed me of the year of discipline that I learned to put into my life in any area. They would have robbed me of that. And that's why they do that. That's why they pass people in public school, because even though they don't deserve it, everybody gets a participation ribbon. There's safe zones. The kids run the schools. There's no more discipline because it could cause the pain to facilitate maturation of that child. And if you're the government, that's the last thing you want. You do not want mature, empowered human beings to rule, because government cannot exist with empowered, healthy, and fully functional adults in their adult life.
100%. That was, yeah. It's so much to unpack there, obviously, and it's also true. And that's government school system is what really drives my work and my coaching too, because as you know, I was a teacher in that system. Not for very long though, because I stood up for a couple of children that said that they weren't sure what gender they were, and I just, I haven't told that story before, but I let a couple of people, their parents, know what was going on, and I was see you later. But anyway, that's like for me though, like that's breaking those things. And for me, I know a lot of my life in the last 3 years has been one maturing process of that fully functioning adult. Because when I came to you, I was just a young little boy that had all these big hopes and dreams, but had to go on that journey of maturing, of failure, of all those things. But for me, it's switching that mindset from failure to, well, what can I learn from that experience? That if that was to happen again, it's not going to happen again because I've learned how to not. It's like it's like a mental like program flip of, well, a failure is like, hey, what can I learn from this? How can I get better? Rather than, oh fuck, I failed. oh fuck, you sort of know what I mean. You sort of give up and quit. It's like, no, you just go, well, what did you learn? How can I get better? And if this was to happen again, what would I do differently? It's that self-reflection.
And again, in the school system, you're talking about failure. The way the system is set up, students are taught that the ultimate disaster is failing.
Exactly.
And so when you teach someone that failing is something that you have to avoid at all costs, how is that person ever going to be able to generate money for themselves? As an entrepreneur, it completely severs the entrepreneurial spirit when the person believes that you can't fail or it'll be the worst occurrence in your life. For me, let's say my top 10 business ideas as a businessman. Now, I'm not too sure if people are aware, I've never held a job. I've always been self-employed, but 8 out of my 10 business ideas have been failures, but 2 out of 10 has made me $10 million. So if you teach children that failing is something you have to avoid, it's a goblin. It's not there to teach you something. It's just every time there's a failure opportunity, slam the door,
Mm.
slam the door. For me as an entrepreneur, when I fail, I open the door. The pain teacher comes in with the failure, puts it out on the table and says, okay, what can we learn from this? It's not failure. It's basically one extra pathway that we know not to take in the future. It's another way we know that won't get us to where we're going. So as sometimes we got to narrow down what works, and only failure can bring us there. Failure is a key part of life success. And that's why most people aren't successful, because that insidious program that I talked about, insidious programs you can't see with your conscious mind. Only the subconscious sees it. So all this drama around
Mm.
failure, people are crying, people are, some kids are, they commit suicide when they get a bad mark on a test. They think their life is over. So you're going to tell me that person's going to try to open a business? I don't think so, because the failure it's an equal shot. But even if you fail in business, you go through that rite of passage, the discipline, you try, you try, you try. Not everybody, becomes the gold medalist, but the effort of everybody else. I mean, you don't know anybody but the gold medalist, maybe the silver medalist, but everybody else that tried to run that race has had these massive maturation and individuation benefits that help stabilize the whole society, because they put in the work, as they say, or they dedicate to the grind every single day. Now, once a person understands the system of putting in the time and dedicating to the grind, they could do it with their relationships. They could do it with their income. They could do it with raising their kids. They know what a hard day's work is all about. You dedicate morally and ethically to principles that make your life better. And today, number one, no one wants to fail, and no one wants a hard day, because why would you want to go through a hard day where you can get your lips injected and you get plastic put under your chest, or I can take some steroids, or I can turn on the TV and zone out, or I can scroll my phone and not think about what I really got to do to make my life better. Everybody's going for that low-hanging fruit, and basically they're not going to get the mentorship they need from the institutions that are designed to create this effect.
Mm.
Anything that has to do with the government, I'm not too sure if you're aware of how government maintains its power. Government maintains its power by destroying yours. No one's going to teach you how to overthrow them.
Yeah.
And you're not going to learn anything in the government school to make you your best self, to make you your the most powerful version of you that there is. They're not going to explore your innate human potential. You needed someone to tell you that you had this huge potential inside of you. And the reason you respond is like you hadn't drank in 10, and it's like you were in the desert and hadn't had a drop of water in 3 years, because your teachers aren't designed to pick out your superpower. They're designed to make sure you be like everybody else. Do as you're told. Raise your hand if you want to go to the bathroom. Show up at a prison. It
Mm,
looks like a prison. Does not with the fenced in with the shitty brick buildings. Like, does it not like it's a low vibrational, dark place to be. Someone else lording over you, telling you when you can go to the bathroom. It's a disempowering ritual, right? And when I told you that you had this gift to give to the world, you responded in kind because that's you.
mm.
That's your design. That's the natural human design is, and they had so much dust on, and all I did was I blew it off. That was it. That's it.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm. Yeah, I was just sitting here just pondering that first session when you were just talking. Then I got a little bit emotional there, Jason. You touched my heart there just about a minute or two ago. But yeah, it's so true. And being in that system and then seeing it for what it was is the motivating force behind that documentary that's gonna be out soon. And yeah, for me to be able to be in that space now, you said to me 3 years ago I was going to make a documentary. I didn't know what it was going to be, but here we are right now.
Yeah, and the great thing, and I've written a lot of articles in my career, motivational, some factual.
Mm,
Sometimes I use a bit of a shock jock mentality and get people to pay attention, then give them some solutions. But what Nathan is doing is the same thing I'm doing, same thing at least 1 billion people are doing right now, but we need the other 7 billion to come on board.
mm,
And the answer to, I mean, we all got some problems with some people that are pretending they're our governments, okay? And
mm,
and any system has its black side and its light side. Our tech is the same. We could use tech for good. They're not using it for good. You use mind control for good. They're not using it for good. But if anybody's having a hard time, and if you're listening to this podcast, you're probably having a bit of a hard time, or anywhere between a bit of a hard time and a real hard time. And if you don't like that, understand that there's sort of one solution. Basically, the solution is you have to start being creative. Number one, you
yeah.
have to start creating again. In whether you're a painter or a music writer, you play guitar, you're a sculptor, whatever you are, start like because this creativity, this group knows is electrical flow. It's not, it shows as creativity, but it's actually energy. It's actually electricity. It's actually power. And when you start having a power generator, circular sort of, this feedback loop in your own body, you're getting really powerful. And if you understand physics, they'll tell you, even in the government school, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. So when you start creating this electricity, you'll start feeling more powerful, more focused, more self-confident, stronger. Where do you think that's coming from? Because if energy can neither be created nor destroyed, it has to be coming from somewhere. And it's coming from them, the group that I'm talking about. By you becoming stronger in your own home, you don't have to meet them, but you're taking your power back from them. That's very important. And then once you start the creative flow, understand that your painting and your sculptures and your creativity or your glass blowing or your jewelry making can inspire others to do the same. And if anybody's out there that wants to couple, once they get the creative energy going, maybe they can start writing articles. Blogs are free. You can get them on the internet. You can write articles. You can add very beautiful thumbnails, which is this, sort of the landscape picture on your article. And you can publish them on social media. You can publish them on Substack. Maybe you want to do some videos on YouTube or Rumble or Odyssey or something. And maybe you want to make a documentary down the road. Maybe you just want to do solo podcasts. I've done 200 solo podcasts, speak right into this mic. I don't interview too many people. Maybe I've interviewed 5 people in my career. or maybe you want to start interviewing people, and everything can expand like this. My main point is become a reporter of such. And even if you don't do it for other people, to let them know the goings on of the day in your country or province, state, whatever. But the first 2,000 articles I wrote were for me, not for the public. I've written about 5,000. So the first 2,000 were for me to figure me out. And I needed to put it down on paper, step by step, about how I was feeling, what was going on in the world, what I saw, and have the bravery to get the electricity flowing through my fingers onto the keyboard. And then I wouldn't even publish them on social media. I just had them on a website. I didn't publish, I didn't like try to advertise my website. It was all for me. And then people started to come to me and say, wow, I feel just like you. You're putting into words exactly how I feel. Now, the last 3,000 articles I've made is to educate and become a reporter. I will guarantee you, if you're having a hard time and you want to solve the world's problems that we have right now, please become a reporter, even if it's down the road. But your first article is your first just be creative to start. If you're writing articles or making videos, just understand, it'll just be like a painting or some glass that you blow. It'll just be for you at the beginning, and it'll just get some practice on your home field. And then as you become sort of a ninja or an expert or a black belt with your creative power, start turning it toward educating other people to make their lives better.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what you told me 3 years ago. And, a lot of people sit in the fear of actually starting that thing. That's part of that maturation process. I know for me, when I started speaking and stuff, you get the blowback and all that sort of stuff. It's like you keep going. My first episode of this podcast, you can go back and listen to it. It was a car crash. Microphone was too loud. I was too loud. I cut her off. It's like you learn from those experiences. I started listening to yours a lot more around that time of how to do solo ones. There's a few solo ones here. First one was a car crash. I spoke too much truth, but that's okay. It's like we just learn as we go, but we don't learn unless we start. And that's the thing of today. It's like you just got to do the thing to then keep doing the thing to learn along the way. Otherwise, you're just going to be just stuck where you are. It's like we came here to learn, grow, and evolve. And if we're not doing those things, then we're just. Look, I heard a beautiful person say to me the other day, Jason. I like your thoughts on this quote. The day we stop learning is the day we start dying.
Yeah, I mean, everything in this life, it has to keep growing or it starts to collapse into itself.
Yeah.
And we are here. I think the day you stop teaching is
Yeah.
the day you start dying. Because for me, I mean, I can acquire information and knowledge all I want, but if I don't share the benefit of that, and if you have a good mentor or someone you follow, they're going to read a book that took them 4 weeks to read, and then they'll write an article that you can read in 15, 10 minutes to get all the points synthesized. And you can get like your hair blown back by the information, but they just took it from a whole book. That's the big benefit of someone who's a real teacher, is they're going to try and save you time. They're going to try and save you energy and money. They're going to allow you to struggle too. I'm not going to try and make anybody's life filled I don't want anybody that listens to me walking on a cotton candy road, because I understand that, if they're too soft, if nothing challenges them, then they never mature.
Mm.
So I just try to give them the basic framework of the con jobs, and the framework is very close to the same for 98% of the cons. Sometimes they're really hard to pick out, but I mean, that's why I'm a teacher, so that I know too that if I'm successful in walking down the road and everybody's in a wheelchair and this kid has autism, and the parents can't leave the house, and the kid will never have a first love, never have a child, never be married, never experience a wedding, never experience a good time. I'm I'm not going to stop until all that is solved, or at least I'm going to try.
Yeah.
I don't mind humans being in pain because I know it's part of life, but unnecessary pain, I'm not in for at all. So my biggest thing, my commitment to my group that I mentor every day, either through articles or podcasts or programs, I'm committed to removing the unnecessary pain of children.
Yep.
So whether it's through war and my big one is the vaccinations. This is something I've talked about for 25 years. Uh, Basically, there's so much pain that's unnecessary in this category. And again, if you know the group that I keep talking about, when I put my hand over here in the corner, I'm alluding to this ancient group who maintains their power by destroying our power. Nothing's more effective than destroying a human's power, than pumping them full of toxins and poisons. And it's really important people start understanding that, because our power as a collective is getting really low. We're trying to battle it back up, but we really got to understand that the group we're dealing with uses the mind control that you and I talk about to our clients all the time, but they also use poison. So please understand, one of the structural foundations or blueprints of the con job by which most people are having shitty lives today is a combination of controlling the repetitive content of everything we see and hear in the media, because that has effect on our programming. But one of the most important things to remember is that the more poisoned a person is, the more they adopt the repetitive content as their own. So you said Stifler, or whatever his name, Sean William Scott, I think is his name,
Charlie Sheen.
or Charlie Sheen. Now that they've done studies where they will expose people to, say, Charlie Sheen characters or Stifler characters, and about 30% will bite. 30% will say, I'm going to take that personality of my own because it seems like it's going to get me a bit more tribal acceptance or chance I'm going to procreate. But if they take the same audience and caffeinate them or put alcohol in their system or any toxin, it could be Teflon, aluminum deodorant, it could be toxic sun spray, you get a whole bunch more compliance. Well, what happened? How did that happen? How do you get some people responding to the repetitive content, which is what mind control is? Mind control is responding and adopting the repetitive content as your own. So why do more people respond to it if they're poisoned? Because the initial response of, say, the 30% of our society, it's for group acceptance. The subconscious thinks the repetitive content represents what the bigger group is saying, thinking, or doing. And a lot of people find the subconscious is a safety seeking system. It's safer to be in the bigger group. So we adopt the most repetitive content as our own behavior because it represents the bigger group. Here's the interesting part. Poison animals are weaker animals, and weaker animals need the group more. So the more they poison you, the weaker you are, and the more you need the group to survive. The repetitive content represents what the bigger group is, so you follow the liarrhea and garbage trash fire content that's repetitive on your screens more when you're poisoned. Again, two-pronged system: control the repetitive content, poison the people back into the Stone Age. You're not going to get 100% compliance to their nonsensical repetitive content, which is mind control, but you'll get a lot more compared to if you don't poison them. So please understand, that's why all your deodorants are poison, your soaps are poison, your towels are made out of plastic, they put fluoride in your water and your toothpaste, the needles are all full of poison. It's not about saving money. It's not about brands. It's not about health. It's about you complying. And please open your aperture a little bigger. The products in your grocery store are toxic because they place you under mind control easier. Please understand that. Yeah.
Mm. How does one go about it's like a belief system thing too. Like, how would one go about taking that first step? But also, how does one go about understanding more about the toxins? Well, there's obviously a great book out there, which I've got sitting here called How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy. That's probably a good place to start. Actually, I'll give the advice instead.
Go ahead.
But, but how does one go about uncovering those truths of the world as we just spoke about, but then also shining that mirror back onto themselves and fixing themselves internally as well? What would be your advice to someone listening right now that's young?
They don't have to do that. All
Mm,
they got to do is get up in the morning
mm,
and do two things, okay? There's a guy like me you don't know who is saying they can take over your mind and make you poison yourself by your own hand, and you'll do it and you won't really be able to stop. And the reason they do that is because they also know that if they went to your house on a Friday night, because they know they can't exist unless you're disempowered, okay? They know that. Government, the way it is right now, cannot exist unless you're super weak. Now, if they showed up on a Friday night, opened your door, there's like four Gestapo guys, right? And they come in, two people, two of the Gestapo guys on your wrist, two on your ankles. They take you out and they start pouring wine down your throat. And also sit you up after they poured the wine in your throat so you can watch some Netflix. Now, if they did that, you'd clue in.
yeah.
So the reason they're mind control experts is so they know they can't do what they want unless you're under mind control. You can't be put under mind control unless you're weak. So they got to use the mind control so you poison yourself by your own hand. You show up at the V clinic, you're waiting in line, you poison yourself there, you make up all kinds of stories about why you're there, all the liarrhea needed for you to stand there and poison yourself. You do it to yourself. So why don't you just test if what I'm saying is true? See how deep the spell is. Can you stop quitting alcohol? Can you quit alcohol? Can you quit coffee? If you say coffee's not addictive, stop for 3 weeks. Let me know how it goes. Why can't you quit? Why can't you quit smoking? Why can't you quit vaping? And as long as you realize there's some kind of spell going on, because these are ancient black magicians, they're not modern, these societies that do this.
Mm,
They're from the pyramids, they're from all the ancient ruins in the Middle East. That's where they're from. They don't care about your TV. They care about the spells. These are spells. You can't break them. They're magic. Okay. So at least come up to speed and say, I think he's right. Like I can't, or how about if you're a teenager, you watching porn all the time?
yeah.
You don't think you're addicted? You don't think it's a spell? Why can't you stop? Why can't you stop? Okay. Fine. So I'm not telling you to do anything. Just recognize if you're under a spell. And then go back and listen to your songs, watch your
Mm,
movies, and stop getting entertained. Make it more of a study. You can do this, it's free. Everybody can do free stuff. Do you see any coffee cups in the movie? Do you see any takeout coffee cups? Maybe some clay coffee mugs? Do you see any coffee shops? Do you see any coffee machines on the back counter, percolator machine, maybe an espresso machine? Start counting them. Make it a game with your friends. Make it a game with yourself. Maybe just do it for the first 20 minutes. How much alcohol have you seen? And
yeah.
every glass of alcohol will count as one. So if you're watching Bad Boys 4, Ride or Die, and they're having a wedding and everybody cheers, pause that scene and count every champagne flute, every bottle of champagne, every bottle of liquor in the bar that's also in the scene on purpose. And also know that it's proven in psychology that you only have to see two champagne flutes to want to drink champagne when the movie goes off. So why don't you at least start doing that? And you'll be so much more ahead than the average person. If you're smart and everybody thinks they're smart, are you smart enough to see that the two most repetitive themes in all movies, regardless of what you're watching, are coffee and alcohol? And then let's go back to your real life and your addictions you can't stop. And that's how you cast spells. You control what goes into the person's eyes. And if you want to go watch Lord of the Rings, there's Viggo Mortensen is Aragorn in that movie. And he leans into, I can't remember his other name, the actor, and they're going in to talk to a wizard. And Viggo Mortensen says, "Do not lock eyes with the dark wizard, for he will cast a spell on you." Whatever goes in your eyes can cast a big spell. And magic is not just something in a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
It's something that's also proven in psychology. And what you see, you will be. And once that spell is set, you're going to have a hard time breaking it unless you just consult with someone like Nathan or I or any other coach in this realm for just a couple hours. It's just our process is simply a couple hours. We don't want you full time. We're going to cast a spell on you and kick you right out the door, knowing that you're going to be perfectly fine because we're going to cast a good spell on you. That's how it goes.
Yeah, and just to quickly with the spelling, just to give someone else a bit more of a, it's like, why do they call it spelling in school? It's like what you're saying, your words are also casting spells. You don't need a magic wand like Harry Potter to do alakazam and shit. You just need to say the words. Your words are spells. Your subject at school is called spelling for a reason. It's like start there too.
Yeah, and yeah, start looking at the words. Even something like cursive
Yep.
gets its word from setting a curse. And an ancient book of spells was called, you could look it up yourself, a grimoire, and it's Grimore. And that's where our word grammar comes from.
There you go.
Because, yeah, right. Grimoire is a spell casting book.
Of course.
And of course, and
Mm.
these people are masters of this sort. This is not new technology; it's old
Mm.
technology controlling people. And I'll give you one other historical fact that people will find shocking. But even if you go to Google right now and you put in media,
Oh yeah.
the country, just don't put media, put media, the country. You'll see there was a country called Media, where Iran or Azerbaijan is today, just letting you know where all this group is originally from and how old they are. And it was the kings and queens of the area of Media. They were called the Medes, Medes. And it was them who taught the kings and queens of the Mediterranean how to control the repetitive content of plays or advertising in the agora, like the harvest square or the harvest dances or the harvest celebrations or the public announcements. They had, like someone running from town to town, the town crier, they would call them. And they taught them how to control the repetitive content of what was being seen and heard by the public, therefore mind controlling them all the way back thousands of years ago. Repetitive content rules the day. I'll even let you know in the movie Fast and the Furious, even in the first one, any car part manufacturer who happened to have their manufacturing logo, whether it was a blower on a car or a nitrous kit or a steering wheel or a neon system, any manufacturer of any of the Fast and Furious cars that were lucky enough to have the brand logo or the brand name show up in the movie, the car sales went up 1,000% because the repetitive content tricks the subconscious to make it believe that's where the safe tribe is. And if I adorn myself with the same logos, the same symbols, the same gang signs, I can find safety in the bigger herd. That's how your subconscious works. That's what the people in media has taught the kings and queens of ancient time. This is what the movies are for. This is what your TV shows are for. You don't have to go to a movie tonight. You're already in one and your character's not doing so good. So be very careful of this ancient group from the Middle East. They're black magicians and they spin their magic spells today like they did in ancient times. They just use repetitive content and poison. It's in your media. Your media is extremely dangerous. It's not there to inform you. It's there to misinform. And your entertainment is not there to entertain you. It's there to entrain you. So be very, very careful. If you're having a hard time in life, I guarantee you, there's a 100% chance this group has lots to do with it.
100% agree with you. And we're just going to finish on this question is if someone's listening and watching this, they're going to be asking why. Why are they poisoning the shit out of us? Why are they why are they programming us to live our worst lives? It's like people always ask me, well, Nathan, why are they doing this? It's like, well, Jason here today, I'll guarantee you, I'll get a comment from that exact reel. They'll ask why. Jason, let's go. Why are they doing this? What's the end goal? Why the fuck are they doing it? And then we'll finish on that question.
When you go down to the grocery store and you walk down the aisles, please tell me when the profit of the product is realized. If you find a fish at the grocery store, when was the profit realized? When? When it's alive in its natural environment or when it's dead?
When it's dead.
Right. You live on a planet by which you have to consume the energy of another to survive. Sick, stupid, and weak and poisoned animals are easier to hunt. That's why. So I don't care who's listening. Are you telling me you're not getting up tomorrow and going to eat food that do you not know you're stealing the life force of another organism to stay in your life? Do you not understand those are the rules of this planet? Of course you do. This group also understands these rules. And they understand they have to cannibalize you once in a while to make sure they live. They're very greedy, by the way. They don't need all their energy. But they're going to take it, especially if we're weak, especially if we're stupid, especially if we're poisoned, especially if we're inept, depressed, dysfunctional, disoriented. That's why they do it. Because we live in a realm where you're going to have to hunt something anyway. It might as well be a weak, stupid animal. Then it's a lot easier. And you know what? The world doesn't have to really be like that exactly. It could be a little bit more gentle. We certainly don't need it over on this side of the spectrum. We can live, we can survive, we can gracefully steal the life forces of other entities to make ourselves live. We don't have to be living under this structure. Because if you haven't noticed, the system they got going right now, they're not satisfied with a little bit of life force, right? They want to get us right. They want to make us like the fish right now. So be very careful out there and understand you don't need to find these people.
Yeah, well said.
All you need to do is go into your kitchen cupboard, go in your fridge, and ask yourself and be honest with yourself for once. Have you been tricked to poison yourself by your own hand? And if you have, start unraveling that puzzle. Period. And if you want to get on my email list for articles that discuss things like this, short ones too, I know you got no time. I'm going to make a short article and I'm going to make sure it penetrates deep and hard and educates you very quickly. So you can email me at info@jchristoff.com. Christoph, J is a single initial. Christoph is Christ with an OFF on the end. info@jchristoff.com. Get on my email list. And it's not about perfection. If you're out there and you're having a hard time, let's say you're drinking a bottle of wine a night and you go to half a bottle, you just decreased your intake by 50%. It's about progress. It's not
Mhm.
about perfection. You start where you are, use what you can, use what you have, do what you can. You move ahead simply because it's better than sitting where you are. And then as you get your power back, it's like going to the gym. Sure, the first day you bench 20 pounds. You
Mm.
keep going, that's 35, 40, 50. You're not going to do it all in one day.
Mhm.
Just like anything else, right? If I wanted to learn how to play hockey, I'm not going to go to the NHL the next day just because I decided to strap on a pair of skates yesterday. So put in the time, dedicate to the grind, make rituals of success, decrease rituals of disaster, and start throwing your power into your own life and taking it away from this ancient ruling group. It's much appreciated from this side of the spectrum. Thank you.
100%. And I love seeing it too. I love seeing the younger crop of generation doing the same thing. It's holding our world in good stead for the future because they want to turn these younger generations into their AI robots, which is a whole nother conversation, a whole nother rabbit hole. But Jason, thank you for sharing all you shared today. Very informative as always, also very entertaining and also very heartwarming as well. You sort of got me a bit emotional there during this chat. So if there's anything else you'd like to share, Jason, you've already said where people can find you. Your social media too is just your name, correct?
Yeah, just my name, Jason Christoff, and my website's obviously jchristoff.com. But thank you for allowing me to talk to your audience today and whoever's out there. Thank you for doing your part. Just thank you for improving because progress is what makes the human soul happy.
Mm.
Just make a little bit of progress, your power will come back. The system's geared against you making progress. So, kick at that darkness till it bleeds daylight, as Bruce Coburn used to say.
Good way to finish. Thank you all for listening and watching wherever in the world you are. This is Nathan, Francis, Jason Christoff signing off. We will be back. I reckon we should do this again in 6 months rather than 12 months. A lot happens in our lives in 12 months. Hey.
6 months. We'll do it next one, 6 months.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Jason, for your time. And guys, I'll see you all again soon with some more awesome guests in the can. This podcast is taking another turn, so we'll see how we go there. Thank you all for listening and watching again, Jason. Thank you so much. I'll talk to you all soon. Cheers.